Hello Internet, Console Command, Brennan here. Classic games have made a big comeback recently. Services such as Nintendo's Virtual Console and Sony's PSN have made it easier than ever to experience titles that have been long lost in the past. Although many argue that these are just emulated knockoffs of the original classics.
Console emulation has been around for several years. Many gamers got started by playing illegally obtained ROM files that often played near flawlessly.
But there was always an emptiness about it. It was as if playing on a computer monitor with the keyboard or Microsoft Sidewinder somehow sucked the very soul or essence from the game. Now don't get me wrong, playing this way could still be a good, solid experience, and it even added a few benefits such as save states, which allowed for saving on the fly, frame skips for forwarding through boring dialogue, and having the ability to apply fan-made patches on the games, which ranged from making the game more challenging to modifying the language of the ROM. But more on that later. It seemed to many people that the emulators were not the way the games were meant to be played. There's just something about having the physical cartridge playing at the intended resolution, at the intended refresh rate, with the intended controller. A lot of people began to collect the retro discs and cards. Avid gaming collectors are running rampant on eBay, Amazon, Craigslist, flea markets, and yard sales. Their numbers continue to grow, and many of them share an elitist attitude towards gamers who use emulators and ROMs, believing that they're missing the point. It seems that many of us are using classic games as a way to preserve these childhood memories. To think back fondly on a simpler time when games didn't have Hollywood production budgets, built-in hard drives, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, excruciating load times, hour-long tutorials, countless button combinations, convoluted stories, horrible voice acting, shitty camera angles, remake after remake after dear fucking shit, fucking remake!
Hyperkin recently released the latest addition to their console hardware library, the Retron 5. It boasted the ability to play cartridges from 9 classic consoles, 10 if you include the Sega Master System, which requires a separate peripheral. Upon its release, it fell upon some mixed reviews due to issues like having to hold the power button too long, reproduction carts not reading properly, save files being deleted off the cartridges, being packed with the controller so bad you'll wonder why they even bothered, and being infamously difficult to remove cartridges from. Seriously, this thing loves my games way too much. It doesn't want to let them go. Let it go! Fuck!
However, they have been hard at work on the firmware updates, actually seemingly releasing a new revision every few weeks. They've been able to greatly improve the time it takes to power on and to load the games, somehow. They've also fixed the save issues and improved compatibility for reproduction carts. I had no issues with my reproduction cart of Earthbound. Hyperkin even eventually posted a video on the correct way to remove the cartridges, and the technique more or less works. Some of the more elite classic game collectors still don't like the Retron 5 because it actually dumps the ROM from the cartridge and essentially emulates the console using built-in software. But because it requires the actual carts to play, supports the actual console controller, and uses filters to mimic scan lines and slight blur of old CRT screens, I'd say this is a very nice middle ground console, a very nice addition to any gamer's collection. By far the best and most surprising addition to the console firmware came in their September 23, 2014 update. IPS and UPS patch support added. What this means is you are now able to play patches intended for ROMs on your actual carts while playing them. Technically, it's being applied to the ROM that is dumped onto the console, but that doesn't change the fact that you're now able to buy Japanese copies of the games that never made it to North American shelves, have them translated to English in real time, playing them as closely as they were intended to be played as possible, without having to learn Japanese. Even most games that did hit North American shelves have a Japanese to English patch due to fans wanting to have a more accurate translation or less censored version of the game. My reproduction version of Earthbound also had one of these fan-made translations applied to it.
We'll try applying an IPS patch to Chrono Trigger. Hey, works great! Star Ocean! Beautiful! Dragon Ball Z Butoden 3. Combat? Championat? Option 1P versus ORD, a sister? A sister? Really? What the fuck? Well, Star Ocean!
Non-collectors might wonder why it would be beneficial to buy the Japanese games and go through the trouble of having to translate them versus just buying the English version of the game. Well, because the amount of collectors are rising, there are a limited amount of games out there, especially those that were rare to begin with. Inflation has been inevitable. Let's compare the going rates of a few North American titles with their Japanese counterparts.
Shit, no, fuck!
Much more reasonable. I understand that the elitists may not agree that the Retron 5 is the best way to get the most legitimate classic gaming experience. They can always invest in repo carts for games that never had official North American releases and play them on their official consoles, but for everyone else, this might literally be the game changer we've been waiting for. Thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Do it now. Thank you.